Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back, of course, to Babylon Talmud. Apologies for all of the loud motorbike background noise the last few days. The good news is I'm moving out of this place tomorrow. I'm headed to Singapore for a week, so we'll see. Maybe it'll be quieter there. Sure hope so. But in any event, today's daf is daf Tes. Looking forward to learning with everybody. We're going to start, so we actually need to start a little bit on daf Ches Amud Beis. We have to start with what we ended with yesterday because it's going to give it's pretty important for the flow at the beginning of today. So we got another big daf today. So without further ado, here it is. So we're going to start from actually 4 lines before it gets wide, before it gets really wide on daf Ches Amud Beis. Here we go. By Rabban Gamliel Omer. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav Halacha Rabban Gamliel. So as we saw yesterday, that is wow. That is exactly what I'm talking about. Those guys are so loud. Okay, Rabban Gamliel Omer v'chulei. Amar Yehuda Amar Shmuel Halacha Rabban Gamliel. So it says Rav Yehuda in the name of Shmuel, the halacha is like Rabban Gamliel, that you could read Kriyat Shema until Alos HaShachar. Fine. Tani Reb Shimon ben Yochai Omer, Pa'am Shadam Koi Kriyat Shema. I'm just going to do this a little quicker, I think, because we did it yesterday. Right, Reb Shimon ben Yochai says, Pa'am Shadam Koi Kriyat Shema Shtei Pa'amim Balayla, Achas Kodem Shi'ala Amud HaShachar, V'achas La'achar Shi'ala Amud HaShachar. You could read Kriyat Shema twice at night, once before Amud HaShachar and once after Amud HaShachar. Yotzi Bai Nidei Chavasu Achas Shal Yom V'achas Shal Laila. And by doing so, you're Yotzei Kriyat Shema Shalayla when you read it before Amud HaShachar, and you Yotzei Kriyat Shema of the day when you read it after Amud HaShachar. Hagufa Kasha, this is inherently problematic. Amar Pa'am Shadam Koi Kriyat Shema Shtei Pa'am Balayla. First you started off by saying that you're reading Kriyat Shema twice during the nighttime, Al Malacha Shala Amud HaShachar Leil Yahu, which means that even after Amud HaShachar, but he's reading Kriyat Shema, he's still reading Kriyat Shema at night. It's still the nighttime after Amud HaShachar. But then you're saying that you Yotzei your Chiyuv of Kriyat Shema for the night and also for the day, Amal Yamamu, which means that after Amud HaShachar is already considered daytime. Lo, so the Gemara says, okay, it's no problem. Lo Olam Leil Yahu. Really, after Amud HaShachar is still considered night, which is why Reb Shimon ben Yochai said that you're reading Kriyat Shema 2 times during the night. Okay. Well then, v'hadikari leyom. Well then, why did we refer to the Kriyat Shema that he read after Amud HaShachar as being Kriyat Shema of the day? De'ika inshe dekame bayi shaita. It's because there are people that are awake at that time. Because Kriyat Shema is not about day or night; it's about b'shach b'cha uvkumecha. And therefore, even though it's nighttime, but the fact of the matter is, people are already getting up after Amud HaShachar, and therefore it can be considered uvkumecha, and you can read Kriyat Shema of the day then. Amar Rav Acha bar Chanina Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi Halacha Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel. Okay, so now listen to this. This is going to be important. So Rav Acha bar Chanina says in the name of Rabbi Yoshua ben Levi that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Okay, cool. Now let's move on. Ika, this is new. Ika demasni lahat Rav Acha bar Chanina aha. There are those who teach that which Rav Acha bar Chanina said. That the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. He taught it on the following brisa. The Tanya, as we learn in a brisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai Omer Mishum Rabbi Akiva. So Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai says the name of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, in the previous brisa, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai said for himself. Now he's quoting in the name of Rabbi Akiva, and listen to what he says. It's slightly different, but it's important. Pe'amim shadam kore kriyat shema shtei pe'amim bayom. Okay, there are times when a person can read kriyat shema twice during the day. Okay, achas kodem heinei tzachama va'achad la'achar heinei tzachama. Once before sunrise, and once after sunrise. V'yotzei bain yidei chovaso achas shayom va'achas shalayla. And by doing so, his Yotze is chiyuv of Kriyat Shema for both the night, when he read before Amud HaShachar, and for the day, when he read, when he read before sunrise, before Heinei Tzachama, he was Yotze the Kriyat Shema for the night, And when he read after Henetz Achama, he was Yotze the Kriyas Shema. I hope I didn't just confuse this. When he read before Henetz Achama, before sunrise, he was Yotze Kriyas Shema for the night. And when he read Kriyas Shema after Henetz Achama, after sunrise, he was Yotze Kriyas Shema for the day. Okay? Now, let's go on for a minute. Hagufa Kasha. Now we ask a very similar question, which is that this is inherently problematic. This time, right? There are times that a person can read Kriyas Shema 2 times during the day, which means that before sunrise it's considered daytime. And then you said that by reading Kriyas Shema before sunrise and after sunrise, you yotze the Kriyas Shema for the nighttime when you read before sunrise, and for the daytime when you read after sunrise, right? Alma Leil Yahu, which means that after that before sunrise it's still considered nighttime. Okay, we will go over this in a second. So we say Lo Leolam Yimamahu. Really, before sunrise is already considered daytime. V'hai dukaru leilya. The reason why we're calling it night, to say that you yotze your chiv of Kriyas Shema for night, is dika inshe diganu ba'yishaita, is that there are people that are sleeping at that time, so it's considered b'shoch b'cha when you're lying down, and you could be yotze your chiv of Kriyas Shema for night. Let's talk about this for a second. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was made the cutoff between, right? He was basing it on Alos HaShachar, right? Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai was saying in the name of Rabbi Akiva, so essentially Rabbi Akiva was doing it based on Netz Achama. Now, this window where they argue is right before sunrise, before Netz Achama, is the same thing as after Alos HaShachar. We're talking about this window that is between dawn, which is Alos HaShachar, and sunrise, which is Netz Achama. So Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai called this window, this period of time, nighttime, and he said, however, you can be Yotze your Chiyuv Kriyas Shema of the day because people are already getting up. Okay, Rabbi Akiva considered this window to be daytime and said that you can be Yotze your Chiyuv Kriyas Shema at night then because there are still people who are sleeping. Okay, so that's sort of the distinction between those 2 brises. Okay, fine. And the interesting thing is that yeah, I don't know. Would yeah, I don't know. Okay, said it. So, and then of course, Amar Rabbi Acha, Rabbi Chanina, Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi, Alacha Rabbi Shimon, Amar Mishum Rabbi Akiva, right? And then Rav Acha, who said the name of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, right? He said in the previous brayse that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, but there are those who said that it was on this brayse, and what he says is that the halacha is like Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, who says in the name of Rabbi Akiva. Okay, and the question is after Alos HaShachar and between and before Netz Achama, is that considered nighttime? Is it considered daytime? There are nafkaminas in terms of, let's say, like when do we start considering daytime for Sha'od Zmaniot, for Zman Kriyas Shema, right? Like for example, I think you can read Kriyas Shema for the first 3 hours of the day, right? So those are Sha'od Zmaniot. Do those start from Alos HaShachar? Do they start from Netz Achama? So it depends if it's day or if it's night. Okay, fine. Great. Now, Rabbi Zera, uvilvad shelo yomar hashkivenu. Okay, very good. So now, Rabbi Zera says that, sure, we just said that after Alos HaShachar, you can still read Kriyas Shema of night, right? Meaning we said before sunrise, i.e. between dawn and sunrise, it's considered daytime. However, we said you could still say Kriyas Shema of the nighttime because people are sleeping. Reb Zera, however, says, because remember, part of reading Kriyas Shema is also reading the Berachos of Kriyas Shema, the 2 Berachos beforehand and the 2 Berachos afterwards at Mariv, right? Now, one of those Berachos at Mariv is Hashkivenu, right? And Hashkivenu literally means put us to sleep, lie us down. So Reb Zera says, while you could technically be Yotze, your Chiyuv of Kriyas Shema of the nighttime still, because there are people that are sleeping, don't say Hashkivenu, lie us down, because nobody is going to lie down anymore. They're already lying down, right? They're soon getting up soon, right? Fine. Kiyasa Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef Amar, when Rav Yitzchak bar Yosef came, probably from Eretz Yisrael, and he came to Bavel, he said, Hot Rabbi Acha Rabbi Chanina Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi lav befeirush itmar. That which Rabbi Acha Rabbi Chanina said in the name of Rabbi Shua ben Levi, he didn't actually say explicitly on either brisa, right? I mean, we said up until now, Amar Rav Acha, Rav Chanina, Amar Rav Shimon Levi. So Rav Yitzchak Bar Yosef says it actually wasn't like that, right? He didn't actually explicitly say it on either brisa. Rather, it came out from a story that happened, okay? Ela Michlala Itmar. It came from sort of an implication of a story in which Rav Acha Rav Chanina gave his opinion, and let's see what this story is. Scandalous. There were two rabbis who got wasted at a wedding, and they fell asleep. And when they woke up, it was already after Alos HaShachar, but it was before Netzach Hama. I'm sorry, the Ishtakur B'Hilula Devrei Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. And it was at the wedding of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi's son. Also the comment of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, well, I guess the good thing is that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi was there, so they could come to him with their quandary. And they said, look, we fell asleep, we overdid it a shtickle, and it's after Amud HaShachar, but it's before Netzach Hama. Can we still read Kriyat Shema? Amar Kedayu Rabbi Shimon Nismoch Alav B'Shas HaDechak. Okay? So he says you can rely on Rabbi Shimon in a pressing circumstance such as this, right? Where you got drunk, you fell asleep, you blew it, it's now after Amud HaShachar, it's pretty borderline, but nonetheless, you can still read Kriyat Shema in this situation. So it's not lichatchila, we wouldn't recommend that you would do this, but in this situation where this is just the situation, this is the reality, you can read Kriyat Shema after Alos HaShachar even, which is very interesting. Okay, fine. Next, going on to we're getting towards the end of the first Mishnah of Berachos, and we're moving on to the next piece of the Mishnah. Ma'aseh shebo banav v'chulei, right? This is going back to that story from the first daf of Berachos, right? Where Rabbi Gamliel's children came back also from a wedding. It was late at night. It was after Chatzos, and they didn't know if they could read Kriyat Shema, so they asked their father, and he said, yeah, as long as it's before Amud HaShachar, you can read Kriyat Shema. So now the Gemara asks actually the question that I had asked on the first day. About Hashtalo Shmielu Hadar Rabbi Gamliel. Until now, did they not know their father's opinion? Right? Like why? Right? They must have known that their father's opinion is that they have to Amud HaShachar. Why didn't they just do like their father? So Hachi Ka'amrle, this is what they said to their father, to Rabbi Gamliel, when they got home. They said, look, Rabbanan Plige Yilavach. At the end of the day, we know your opinion, but we also know that the rabbis argue with your opinion. There is a principle in halacha that when you have one person arguing against many people, right, as fancy as that one person might be, it doesn't go his way. It goes like the majority, right? Achrei Rabim La'atos, we go after the majority. And therefore, even though Rabbi Gamliel has his opinion until Alos HaShachar, the Rabbanan say that it is until Chatzos. Okay, now, who are the Rabbanan? Whenever we say the Chachamim, whenever we say the Rabbanan, who are the Rabbanan, right? So, I don't know, the way you could think about it is basically the general consensus of rabbis, right? So, like, for example, think about, I don't know, you can maybe think about it this way. You have a bunch of rabbis sitting around in a room, and they say, okay, Kri Kriyat Shema until Chatzos. One guy raises his hand, or Gamliel raises his hands, and he says, no, I say till Amud HaShachar. Okay, great. So basically, the Rabbanan is everybody else in the room, that general consensus, okay? Right? It's not like this, like, Chachamim people or something like that. No, it's basically, the general consensus is to do one way, and then there are, this, Rabbi Gamliel says do this, Rabbi Eliezer says do that. So those are individual opinions. When we come to deciding what the halacha is going to be, okay, so we're going to go after the majority. So Rabbi Gamliel's children were saying to him, they were saying, we know that your opinion is that you can read until Alos HaShachar, but the consensus opinion is till Chatzos. So what do we do, right? So, O Dilma, they said, or maybe Rabbanan Kavasach Svirlu, or maybe actually the Rabbanan hold like you. That really, Me'ikar Adin, you could read Kriyat Shema until Alos HaShachar. And the only reason why they said until midnight was just because they didn't want, as we discussed earlier, right, to put a time constraint to encourage people to read Kriyat Shema earlier. Okay? Amalu, and he said to them, bingo. Rabbanan Kavasi Sviralu, they do in fact hold like me. Michayav and Atem, and you still have a chiyuv to read Kriyat Shema, go get them. Exactly as you guys suggested. Very, very smart little kids. That the reason why the Chacham said into Chatzos was to distance people from coming to sin. Okay, moving on in the Mishnah. Velozo bilvad amru. Oh, so then we said, and not only this, right, but actually every time that the Chachamim said that you have until Chatzos, you really have until Amud HaShachar, and they're just trying to distance you from an Avera. So now the Gemara asks, Rabbi Gamliel, Mika Amar Ad Chatzos, the Katani V'lozo Bavad. It's kind of a funny question because I would not have read the Mishnah that way, but okay, the Gemara asks, Rabbi Gamliel, Mika Amar Ad Chatzos, like, I guess the Gemara is assuming for a second that like Rabbi Gamliel is saying that, whenever we say until Amud HaShachar, then you really only have until Chatzos. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Gamliel, Mika Amar Ad Chatzos, the Katani V'lo Zo Bilvad. Right? Does Rabbi Gamliel hold that you can read Kriyat Shema only until Chatzos? That he says that it's not only this case that it's until Chatzos, but rather in other cases they say until Amud HaShachar you also have until Chatzos? I don't know. So right. So Hachi Ka'amar Luhu Rabbi Gamliel Livnei. So this is how to read the Mishnah. Okay, this is what Rabbi Gamliel was saying to his children. Afilu the Rabbanan the Ka'amar Ad Chatzos Mitzvah Sa'Tchiala Amud HaShachar. Right? Even according to the Rabbanan, who say that you can only read Kriyat Shema until midnight, really you can read Kriyat Shema until Amud HaShachar, until dawn. By the Ka'amre Ad Chatzos Kedei L'archik Ha'adam Min Avera. The reason why they said until Chatzos was just so that people wouldn't sin. Okay, great. Honestly, I don't know, it's like a kind of funny few lines. Well, if anybody has any ideas, please let us know. Also, this is a good time to mention, we do have a WhatsApp group now. If anybody's interested, if you go to the Facebook page, at the top there's a pinned post that has a link to join the WhatsApp group. You can join the WhatsApp group if you have questions, comments, suggestions to the Gemara. All is welcome there. In addition to the YouTube video, Facebook posts, wherever you want to get in contact with all of us. Okay, Hektar Chalavim Ve'evarim. Okay, very good. So we then move on in the Mishnah and we say Hektar Chalavim Ve'evarim. We give the example of burning of the fats and the limbs you can do all night, right? So what is that talking about? That means that, okay, basically whenever you bring a sacrifice in the temple, right, so there's always going to be some part that goes on the Mizbeach. That's the whole point, is that we want to get stuff on the Mizbeach for God, right? So if I bring a sacrifice today, so we have until Amud HaShachar, we have until the morning to get whatever stuff goes on the Mizbeach for God, to get them on the Mizbeach. If we don't get it up by the morning, then we missed our chance. It's called Lina. We missed our chance to get it on the Mizbeach. So now, we mentioned two examples in the Mishnah of things that you have until the morning. One is burning of the fats and the limbs. Another example was... Wow. Another example was when you can eat a korban for one day and the following night, such as a korban toda. If I bring a korban toda today, right, I can eat it today and tonight, but by the morning it is too late. You have until Amud HaShachar as well. Now the Gemara asks, Vilu achilas Pesach lo katani. Why didn't we mention in the Mishnah the korban Pesach? The korban Pesach, right, which also, by the way, on Seder night, the afikomen is in place of the korban Pesach. And we're going to see right now the machlokas between Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah and Rabbi Akiva regarding if you have to finish the korban Pesach by midnight, or if you can continue eating the korban Pesach until dawn, until Alos HaShachar, and that has the same halacha regarding the afikomen, right? We generally, at least in the modern Orthodox places and kind of the more straight-laced places. So we generally try to eat the afikomen before chatzos, okay? But this is the machlokes about chatzos versus neitzachama. There's an interesting condition, it's called the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer. He's got an interesting thing. Hopefully we'll get to that soon. Okay, fine. Now, interesting, we didn't mention in the Mishnah that you can also eat the korban Pesach until Alos HaShachar. Viramini. But one second, we have a contradiction. Kriyat Shema Arvis, right? Reading Kriyat Shema at night, okay. V'halal b'leilei Pesachim, and saying Hallel on Pesach night, okay. V'achilas Pesach mitzvah sanat shelo Amud HaShachar. And eating the korban Pesach is, right, these three things, their mitzvah is until dawn. So how come we didn't include eating the korban Pesach in the list of things that you can do until dawn? So Amar Rav Yosef lo kasha. So Rav Yosef says, no problem. Harab Elazar ben Azariah, Harab Akiva. It's actually a machlokas, right? This this brisa, yeah, exactly. This brisa that says that you can read Kriyas Shema, that you can eat the Korban Pesach until Amud HaShachar is going like Rabbi Akiva's opinion, okay? But Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's opinion is that you only have until Chatzos, and that is why the Mishnah did not mention this among the things that you can do until Amud HaShachar, because our Mishnah is going like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, that you can only do it until Chatzos. Okay, very good. Titania, as we learn in the Brisa, last thin line of the Gemara. Oh, the pasuk says that you will eat the Korban Pesach tonight, on this night. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah Omer, Nemar kan balayla hazeh, v'nemar lahalon, ve'avarti be'eretz Mitzrayim balayla hazeh. Okay, it says over here, by the Korban Pesach, it says balayla hazeh. It also says in the context of Makas Bechoros, right? God says, I will pass in the land of Egypt balayla hazeh. It uses the same two words, balayla hazeh, by the Korban Pesach and by Makas Bechoros. Malahalan ad chatzos, afkan ad chatzos. Right? Just like the Makas Bechoros happened at chatzos, right? So there's actually a different text that says bachatzos, at chatzos, because that is when, right, Korban Pesach, that's when Makas Bechoros happened. So afkan ad chatzos, so here also the Korban Pesach, you can only eat until chatzos. Now this is what's called a gezerah shava. A gezerah shava is, there are 13 ways to learn the Torah, right? We say it in prayer every day, right? Rabbi Yishmael Omer b'shlosh esrei midos haTorah nedreshes behen. There are 13 ways to make drushas from the Torah, extract things from the Torah. One of them is what's called a gezerah shava. A gezerah shava is when you have the same word, or in this case two words, in two places, and then we can equate the two. Now, an important thing about a gezerah shava is that it says ein adam dan gezerah shava me'atzmo. You are unable to just make your own gezerah shavas. Like, hey, it says this word here and that word here, let's just say it's the same thing. No, you have to have a Masorah, right? You have to have a tradition, right, that you received, that these two words are the same as these two words and we can compare them. Now, one more important note about a gezerah shava is that all we know is that there's something to be learned from the fact that this word is in two different places, but we don't know what it is to be learned. So that's always kind of so we know that so the tradition that was passed down is that there is a gezerah shava with balayla hazeh by Korban Pesach, and that there is also, and by Makas Bechoros, and that we could do something with that. And Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is saying the something that we're going to do with that is say that just like Makas Bechoros happened at Chatzos, so also the Korban Pesach you can eat until Chatzos. Fine. Amar le Rabbi Akiva. Now Rabbi Akiva says to Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, "V'alo kvar ne'amar b'chipazon ad she'as chipazon." So now Rabbi Akiva argues, and he says that no, you can eat the Korban Pesach until dawn, until Amud HaShachar. Why? Because it says in the pasuk, it says v'chaltem oso b'chipazon, that you should eat it in haste, right? And Rabbi Akiva learns out ad she'as chipazon, until the time of haste. When was the time of haste? That was Amud HaShachar, that was dawn, when they actually got themselves together and left Egypt in a hurry. So therefore you can eat the Korban Pesach until Amud HaShachar. Im kein mata melomar balayla. Well then, Rabbi Akiva, why does it say balayla, right? Meaning, according to Rabbi Zera, it says balayla because we use it for the gezerah shava. Balayla hazeh, that's how he learns out until chatzos. According to Rabbi Akiva, why does it have to say balayla? So he answers, Yachol yehi nechal kikodshim bayom. Is it possible that maybe I can eat the Korban Pesach during the day, right? Maybe, on Erev Pesach, I slaughter the Korban Pesach, and already during the day I can eat it. Tamulomar balayla. Balayla hu ne'echav v'lo bayom. Right, therefore it says balayla at night, that you can only eat the Korban Pesach at night. You cannot eat the Korban Pesach during the day. Okay, fine. Now, the Gemara says, Bishlam Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, I understand Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's opinion, the Islay Gezerah Shava, because he learns out the Gezerah Shava from Balayla Hazeh, right? He uses the words Balayla Hazeh to learn out until Chatzos. It's Druch Lemichtav Le Hazeh, right? So now, I understand why it says the word Hazeh, because that's part of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah's Gezerah Shava, Balayla Hazeh. El Rabbi Akiva, but according to Rabbi Akiva, Hai Hazeh my Avidle. What does he do with the word Hazeh? He explained what he does with the word Balayla, right? Which is to say that you can only eat it at night, not during the day. What does he do with the word hazeh? So he answers, lim'ute laila acher hu da'asa. It's coming to exclude a different night. What different night? Salkadai techamina hol ufesach kachim kalim v'shlamim kachim kalim. Right? I may have had have a minute to say, look, a korban shlamim is a kachim kalim. We'll explain what that means in a second. That a korban shlamim is a kachim kalim, and the korban pesach is a kachim kalim. Mashlamim ne'echad l'shnei v'layla echad. Just like a korban shlamim can be eaten for 2 days and the night in between. So I'll maybe say af pesach ne'echad shtei leilos b'makom beis yamim. I'll say that you can eat the korban pesach for 2 nights since you can't eat it during the day, right? So therefore I'll say, well, so since we can't eat it during the day, maybe we can eat it for 2 nights, right? V'yehei ne'echad lebeis leilos v'yom echad, and you can eat it for 2 nights and the day. So not that you'll be able to actually eat the korban pesach during the day, because you can only eat it at night, but it just means that it won't be puzzle, right? For because it says that you have to eat it at the night, and whatever's left over you have to burn. So the chiddush is you won't have to burn it during that day that is in between, right? So kamash malan balayla hazeh. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva says, it says balayla hazeh hu ne'echal. It's only eaten for 1 night. Ve'eno ne'echal balayla acher. It's not eaten on another night. Now, let's just talk about what we just said for a second. What is kachim kalim? What is kadshe kachim? So, basically, in general, big picture, there are 2 types of korbanot, right? There's what's called kadshe kachim, which has its own laws, which the most important distinction, I think, would be that it has to be eaten in the azara, in the holy part of the Beis Hamikdash, where only the Kohanim can go. And kachim kalim are korbanot that you can eat anywhere in Jerusalem. So now a shlamim is one type of a korban. It's called a shlamim because it brings peace to everybody. Part of it goes on the mizbeach to God, part of it goes to the Kohanim, they get their piece, and then the rest of it goes to the owner, and he can eat it anywhere in Jerusalem, and he could share it with people. So what Rabbi Akiva is learning out from Hazeh is that I might have had the thought to say that since Korban Pesach is in the category of Kachim Kalim, okay, and that Korban Pesach, and Shlamim is also Kachim Kalim, so just like Shlamim, you can eat for 2 days and the night in between. So I may have had the thought to say, well, Korban Pesach I can't eat during the day, so obviously I can't eat it for 2 days, but maybe I can eat it for 2 nights, right? And then the day in between I can't eat it, but at least it won't be puzzle, during that day, and then I'll just put it in the fridge and get back to it on the second night. Therefore it says hazeh to say that you only have 1 night to eat it. Okay, fine. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah milo tosiru ad boker nafka. Right, Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah says, I don't need a fancy thing like that. It already says in the pasuk, don't leave any of the Korban Pesach over until the morning, and if you leave it over to the morning, you have to burn it. So obviously you only have 1 night to eat it. Rabbi Akiva, my boker sheni. Rabbi Akiva says, if I only had that pasuk of don't leave it over to the morning, I might think don't leave it over to the second morning, right? Rabbi Elazar amar lach kol boker rishonu. Rabbi Elazar says, look, when it says the morning, it means the next morning. It doesn't mean 2 mornings from now. Okay, great. V'hane tanai kehane tanai. Very good. The Gemara then says that the machlokas between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah is actually very similar to the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Let's take a look. The Tanya, Sham Tizbach es a Pesach ba'arev, Kivo Hashemesh Moed Tzescha Mimitzrayim. Right? It says that you can't shech the Korban Pesach wherever you want. You have to shech it in the Beis Hamikdash, and it says there you will sacrifice the Pesach, the Korban Pesach, and it gives you 3 separate times there. Ba'arev. What does it mean ba'arev? It means once the sun starts going towards the evening, i.e. in the afternoon. Okay. Kivo Hashemesh. Who remembers what Bo Hashemesh is from the first page of the Gemara? Right? It says Uva Shemesh V'Taher in the context of the Kohanim eating their truma, right? That was referring to Tzeisa Kochavim, right? Nightfall. And Moed Tzeischa Mitzrayim, when did they leave Mitzrayim? At dawn, okay? So we learn out 3 different things during the time about these times. Rabbi Eliezer Omer says, Rabbi Eliezer, Ba'erev ata zoveach, in the afternoon you slaughter the Korban Pesach, Uchvo hashemesh at tzeis hakochavim ata ochel, you then eat it. Umoed tzeischa mimitzrayim ata soref. Okay, and then at dawn, you then burn it. And what he doesn't say here, but Rashi explains that it must be his opinion, is that you actually have to stop eating it at chatzos, and we'll see why in a second. Rabbi Yoshua Omer says, Rabbi Yoshua, ba'erev ata zoveach, right? Again, you slaughter it in the afternoon. Kivu hashemesh ata ochel. You eat it. You can begin eating it at tzeis hakochavim. V'ad masay ata ochel. Until when can you eat it? Ata ochel v'holech ad moed tzeischa mimitzrayim, until dawn when you left Egypt. Right. So Rashi explains that we know that Rabbi Elazar's opinion must be that you can only eat it until chatzos, because if he says that you can eat it until Amud HaShachar, then he's saying the same thing as Rabbi Yoshua. So basically, Rabbi Eliezer says you can eat it until chatzos, like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, and Rabbi Yoshua says you can eat it until Amud HaShachar, like Rabbi Akiva. Okay, period. Now, I'm not going to get into the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer, because we're really running a little bit behind schedule. It's a huge daf, but maybe I'll write about it later or something. Amar Rabbi Abba, Hakol modim kishanigalu Yisrael miMitzrayim lo nigalu ela ba'erev. Okay. Now, if you remember back on Dalud Amud Beis, when we talked about being somech geula l'tefillah at night, we talked about if the geula really happened at night or not. So it says Rabbi Abba that everyone agrees, both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah agree that when the Jews got freed from slavery, that happened at night. Everyone agrees that after Makas Bechoros, they were no longer slaves. Shneimar Hotziacha Hashem Elokecha miMitzrayim Laila, that God took you out of Egypt during the night. Uchshayatzu lo yatzu ela bayom, and everyone agrees that when they left, they only left during the day. Shneimar mimachos haPesach yatzu bnei Yisrael biyad ramah, that on the next day the Bnei Yisrael left with a high hand. Okay, so what's the machlokas between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah? Which is weird, because I thought that we just spent a while explaining the machlokas between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Right. Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had a Gzer Shava. Rabbi Akiva learned it out from Bechipazon. So I think I have a thought on this, but let's go a little bit further for a second. Al Sha'as Chipazon. So what they argue about is how to define the hour of rushing, right? Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, who says that you can only eat it until Chatzos, Savra Mai Chipazon de Mitzrayim, right? Whose haste are we talking about? We're talking about the haste of Egypt, right? That already after Makas Bechoros, when all these random people started dying, they're like, all right, get out of here. We don't want you here. Just leave, right? So that happened at Chatzos. So that's Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Rabbi Akiva savar my chipazon de Yisrael. Rabbi Akiva says no. The haste that we're talking about is the haste of the Jews, and that happened at Amud HaShachar at dawn when they were hurrying up to go. To leave. Now let's read two more lines, and then I'll tell you what I think about how to understand this. Tani Nami Hachi, we also learn in a brayso like this, Hotziacha Hashem Elokecha miMitzrayim Laila, right? That God took you out of Egypt at night. V'chi balayla yatzu, did they really leave at night? V'alo lo yatzu ela bayom, I thought that they only left Egypt during the day. Shnei mimachar haPesach yatzu b'nei Yisrael b'yad ramah. On the next day, right, the day following this whole Korban Pesach stuff, the Jews left. That the redemption started from the night before. Now, what I think that maybe, so remember how I said earlier that a Gezerah Shava, they just kind of we know that there's something to do with these word similarities, but we don't know exactly, right? The tradition is just that we learned something out from Balai Lazet in this example, but we don't know exactly what we learn out. So it's possible that basically Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah had this tradition that there's a Gezerah Shava for Balai Lazet and Balai Lazet, but he didn't know what it was. Then when we were trying to define what Chipazon is, so he said, I know what this Gezerah Shava is. Chipazon must be the Chipazon of Mitzrayim, that they just wanted to get rid of us at midnight, and that's what the Gezerah Shava is. That it's saying, it says Alayla Azeh by Korban Pesach, and it says Alayla Azeh by Makas Bechoros. It must be that just like that was at Chatzos, then also Korban Pesach, you can eat it until Chatzos, just like the Chipazon of Mitzrayim was at Chatzos. That's one way that I can think about it. Okay. Daber na be'oznei ha'am v'gomer, right? So it says, Hashem says to Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, please speak to the Bnei Yisrael and ask them in the kindest way, can you please go to all the Egyptians and just take their gold and silver? Okay? Amr Dever Rabbi Yanai, they say by Rabbi Yanai, Ein na el lashon bakasha. The word lashon of na is lashon of bakasha, of requesting, of asking. Okay? Amr le HaKadosh Baruch Hu Moshe, Hashem said to Moshe, V'vakasha mimcha, please, lech ve'amor lehem liYisrael, please and go and say to the Jews, V'vakasha mikem, please Jews. Right, in the nicest way. Hashem was very, very nervous over here. Right, please just go to all the Egyptians who are vulnerable right now and ask them for gold and silver. Shelo Yomar also tzaddik said Avram Avinu shouldn't say Va'avadum v'inu osam kiyem ba'em. Right, that God, you had no problem, doing. This was by the bris bein abisarim. Right, when God promised Avram Avinu that his children were going to get Eretz Yisrael. Right, so then Avram says, "How will I know?" And then God says, "Take a bunch of animals, cut them up, and we'll make a covenant." Right. So over there, he said, "By the way, your children are going to be slaves in Egypt, and but afterwards they're going to leave with great wealth." And all of a sudden, it was the night of Yetzias Mitzrayim. God's like, "Oh, darn it! I'm running out of time here." And he was like scrambling to make sure that the Jews would leave with wealth. And he said, which is why he was like really nervous. He didn't want to, take any chances. He said, "Please, Moshe Rabbeinu, ask the Bnei Yisrael in the nicest way to please ask them to get gold and silver from the Egyptians, so that Avraham Avinu doesn't come to me and say, 'Hey God, you had no problem enslaving them for 210 years, but whatever happened to then, you seem to be reneging on the fact of they'll leave with great wealth.'" So Amru lo ulevai shenetze ba'atzmeinu, and then Moshe Rabbeinu was like, "God, you dropped the ball here. Just let us leave. Sorry, dude, but let's just get out of here." It's a parable for a person who was in jail. And they were saying, and people were saying to you, "Hey, Joe, they're letting you out of jail tomorrow and they can give you lots of money." And he says to them, "Please, just get me out of jail today. I don't need money. Just get me out. I don't. Who knows what will happen tomorrow? Maybe they'll renege or whatever. Just get me out immediately." Vayash ilum, and he lent them. Okay, so it doesn't say v'hish ilum that the Egyptians lent the Bnei Yisrael. It says vayash ilum, that God lent them. What do you mean vayash ilum? Rabbi Ami melamed sheyesh ilum bal korcham. So Rabbi Ami says that it teaches that God made them borrow against their will. So ikadami bal korcham de Mitzrayim. Those who say it was against the will of the Egyptians, that the Egyptians didn't want to give this stuff away, but God made them. Vikadami bal korcham de Yisrael. To those who say it was actually against the will of the Jews. The Jews didn't want to take the stuff. Mandam bal korcham de Mitzrayim. The Mandam says that it was against the will of the Jews. Tichsiv univas bayis techalik shalal. Right, that the one who lived in the house kind of divided up spoils, i.e. the Egyptians who were at home were forced to give up of their spoils. It's so funny, right? The Mandamar says that it was against the will of the Jews. It was like they didn't want to have to schlep all this metal, right? It's not like now where a bank account is basically numbers on a computer program. Right over there, wealth was how much metal can you schlep? Okay, Vainatzot Mitzrayim, that they emptied out Mitzrayim. Amar Bi'ami. So Rabbi Ami says that they made it like a bird trap that doesn't have any grain in it. Basically, when you would make a bird trap, you would put grain there to attract the birds. And if you don't have grain there, basically the bird trap is effectively pointless, obsolete. Right? So essentially, they made Egypt from the most powerful place in the world. Remember when Yosef had all this stuff and the whole world was coming to Egypt, to basically, they wrecked their economy by taking all of their gold and silver. They had nothing left. They made it like the depths, right? They made it like a mitzula, like the depths of the ocean where there are no fish over there. There's all sorts of interesting creatures there, but the fish are closer to the top. This is hilarious. I'm in a big rush, so it might be difficult for me to express how funny I think this is, but we'll see if I can get it across. But basically, right, this is when God introduces himself to Moshe by the burning bush. Moshe is like, okay, God, so let's do this scene play for a second, right? I go, I tell them, God sent me. They're like, who is this God? What do I tell them? God's like, okay, cool, got it. Ehyeh asher ehyeh, right? So that is what you should tell them. So I'm Kodesh Baruch Hu Moshe lechem or lehem Yisrael ani ayisi imachem b'shibud zeh v'ani eya imachem b'shibud malchios. Right. So God's like, okay, here, this is what you tell them. I was with you in this terrible predicament in Egypt, and I will also be with you in other terrible predicaments when you're in exile and stuff in the future. And Moshe's like, no, that's not going to work, right? And let's how about let's worry about like these terrible things, like when they happen. Let's just focus on like Mitzrayim right now. So I'm Kodesh Baruch Hu, fine, good idea. Lechem olem ehyeh shlachani aleichem, right? That ehyeh, like God who was with you. Don't worry, I was here this whole time during Mitzrayim. That God is the one who sent me. Anyways, in my mind, it was so much it was like such a funny dialogue, almost like a Family Guy kind of scene where I don't know, God kind of didn't necessarily get these social cues or something, and Moshe had to be like, no, that's not going to work. Let's try it again. And God's like, okay, fine, just do this, whatever. I thought it was funny. Aneni Hashem Aneni. So this is actually something that we had seen before. I believe it was 3 days ago on Daf Vav Amud Beis. This is by Eliyahu Hanavi, if you remember, on Mount Carmel when he had the big showdown against the prophets of Baal, of the Avodah Zarah. So Eliyahu Hanavi prays to God and he says, Aneni Hashem Aneni, Amar Biabo, Lama Amar Eliyahu Aneni Beis Paimim. How come Eliyahu said Aneni, answer me twice? Amar Eliyahu Lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu teaches that Eliyahu Hanavi said before God, Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the world, Aneni Shetered Eish Min Hashamayim V'tochal Kol Asher Al Mizbeach. Answer me that you should bring down a fire from heaven and consume everything that's on the Mizbeach, right? Right, and answer me that you should distract the Bnei Yisrael, you should distract the Jews so that they shouldn't say that it's just witchcraft. That's a continuation of that pasuk. He's basically asking God, because they're so consumed in Avodah Zarah right now that all they can think about is witchcraft and things like that, that their gut reaction would be to say, oh, Eliyahu Hanavi's just another, witchcraft dude, magician, right? So he asked God to, hey, please distract them from that way of thinking for a second so that they actually realize that what's going on is that you are burning up the korbanos. Great. Now, Mazel Tov. Everyone give yourself a pat on the back. We have finished the first Mishnah of Berachos. Moving on to the second Mishnah of Berachos. So up until now we've talked about reading Kriyat Shema at night. Now we're going to move on to reading Kriyat Shema during the day. When do we read Kriyat Shema? In the morning. The answer is, you read Kriyat Shema in the morning from the time that you can tell the difference between tcheles. Rashi says, what's tcheles? It's probably not what many people are thinking, right? Those blue strings on the tzitzis. Rashi says it's actually a green similar to the color, the shade of green of a leek, L-E-E-K, the vegetable leeks, right? Okay? Lilavan. So when you can tell the difference between the color tcheles and the color white, that is when you can read Kriyat Shema. Rabbi Eliezer Omer ben tcheles lekarte. Rabbi Eliezer says no, it's a little bit more challenging. You actually have to be able to distinguish between tcheles, which is a color that's similar to leeks themselves. Okay? V'gomer ad einei tzachama. And then Rabbi Eliezer continues and says that you can read, that you have to, the window that you have to read Kriyat Shema is from this time that you can distinguish between whether, Rabbi Eliezer says between tcheles and leeks until sunrise. Think about that for a second. The mitzvah of Kriyat Shema is only until sunrise. Okay? So you must be very happy that you actually be paskin that you have until 3 hours into the day, because otherwise you'd have to read Kriyat Shema before sunrise already, which in and of itself is interesting. Okay, fine. Rabbi Yeshua Omer ad shalosh shaos. Rabbi Yeshua says that you have until 3 hours into the day, which we have defined really until the third hour. So really 2 hours into the day you have, right? As we saw on Daf Daled Amud Beis, I believe that it was, with the opinion of, or was it even Daf Gimel Amud Beis? Yeah, it was Daf Gimel Amud Beis when it came to the, the Ashmuros, those watches during the night. Okay, fine. Because that's when the kings get up at 3 hours in the day. Okay. If you read Kriyat Shema after then, okay, didn't do anything wrong. You're reading Psukim in the Torah. Great. Okay. So now the Gemara wants to know, what does this mean that you can read Kriyat Shema from the time that you can tell the difference between tcheles and white? Ilema ben givava de amra de imra chivara, the givava de imra de tchelta. If it means if you take like a big clump of tcheles wool and you take a big clump of white wool and you have to be able to tell the difference, at that point you can read Kriyat Shema, right? Habilel yanami meda yadai. But you can even make this distinction at night, like a big clump of like tcheles wool and a big clump of white wool, like, you know, even if it's not that light, you'll be able to see it. So no, rather what it means is that if you take a clump of wool that is dyed to cheles, but it's not dyed perfectly, so there are little bits where the dye didn't get, little bits of white. So if you can like do the detective work and find those little bits of white, then that means that it's light enough that you can already read Kriyat Shema. Tanya Rabbi Meir Omer, says Rabbi Meir, Mashiaker ben ze'ev lekelev, when you can tell the difference between a wolf and a dog. That's very interesting because on the one hand, that I guess implies that you have a wolf and a dog to be able to be analyzing. Although at the same time, you know, you can also say that no, meaning like at the time that somebody who does happen to have a wolf and a dog would be able to analyze and tell the difference, that is also the time that you know, you can read Kriyat Shema. Because at the end of the day, you know, the time that we read Kriyat Shema is something like this, and we just look on like Maizmanim or something to see whatever time it says. But that time corresponds to one of these times that we're talking about now. Rabbi Kiva Omer ben Chomer le'arod. I don't know if it's arod or arvad, but maybe somebody could tell me. Anyways, Rabbi Kiva says that from the time that you could tell the difference between a donkey and a wild donkey, at that point you can read Kriyat Shema. I don't know which one's earlier or which one's later. I don't know. V'acherim omim, acherim say, acherim is generally referred to as Rabbi Meir. Okay, he says, Mishiyire es chaver rachok arba amos v'yakirenu. If you see a friend of yours 4 amos away from you, and you could say, oh yeah, that's my friend, you know, Reuven, so then already you can read Kriyat Shema. Amar Rav Huna halacha kacherim. Rav Huna says that this is the halacha. The halacha is like the acherim, right? And what is an amma, by the way? An amma is generally assumed to be between 1.5 and 2 feet. So, you know, if you see a friend from about, you know, 6 to 8 feet away and you can tell who he is, so then you can read Kriyat Shema already. And Rav Huna says the halacha is like acherim. Amar Abai, the tefillin kacherim, the Kriyat Shema kivasikin. Oh, so Abai says that for tefillin it's kacherim. That once you can tell the difference between your friend from far, you know, you can recognize your friend from Dalet Amos, that's when you can put on tefillin, okay? But for Kriyat Shema, it's taka a little bit later, and it is kivasikin. Okay, what's vasikin? Okay, so Rashi says vasikin is anashim anavim umchabivin mitzvah. It is humble people who, you know, the mitzvos are very beloved to them. Okay, very good. So in the same way that they would read Kriyat Shema, that is when you should read Kriyat Shema, according to Abaye. Now, when is this? The Amar Rabbi Yochanan Vasikina Yugomin Osa Im Hinei Tzachama. That the Vasikin, right? These Vasikin people, they would read Kriyat Shema and they would time it to finish it with sunrise. Period. Tanya Nami Hachim. We also learn in a brayso like this: Vasikina Yugomin Osa Im Hinei Tzachama Kadesh Yismoch Gula L'Tfila V'Nimtzim Mispal Bayom. We have also a brayso that says that the Vasikin would finish reading Kriyat Shema, right, and time it to finish with Netzachama, so they can go directly into Shmona Esrei. Bisomech Gula L'Tfila, right, because part of reading Kriyat Shema, of course, is the brachos that come with it. So you're going to say Ga'al Yisrael after Kriyat Shema, and then you're going to juxtapose that right next to Shmona Esrei, and you will be able to make sure that you are davening Shmona Esrei during the day, because Rashi says everyone agrees for sure that after Hinei Tzachama, after sunrise, it is already the daytime. So this is what the Vasikin would do. Okay. So that is what Abaye says. Abaye says that, you know, that is when to read Kriyat Shema. And it's interesting because that's kind of a subjective time. Like, you know, let's say you can read Kriyat Shema really quickly, so maybe then you read Kriyat Shema right before sunrise. Let's say if it takes you longer, then I guess you can start reading Kriyat Shema. You know, it doesn't really tell you when the earliest time that you can read Kriyat Shema is, unless it's different for everybody. The earliest time that you can read it is like enough time. I don't know. It's possible that Rabbi agrees with like Rabbi Meir that you can already read it from the time that you can recognize your friend, just that we don't recommend that you do that. What we recommend is that you wait so that you can be, you know, do it closer to sunrise, so that then you'll be able to daven Shacharis after sunrise. I suspect that might be what his opinion is. Fine. Amar Reb Zera, Maikra'ah. Reb Zera says, where do we have a pasuk that teaches that it's good to, say Kriyat Shema with sunrise? As it says, Yira'ucha im shemesh v'lifnei yareach dor dorim, that they will fear you, and meaning they will be makabel omachul shemayim, they will be accept the yoke of heaven, which happens during Shema. They will do that im shemesh, with the sun. V'lifnei yareach dor dorim, and it says that they will also fear you when the moon is out as well, for all future generations. Hey, Rabbi Yossi ben Eliakim mishum kala kadisha de Yerushalayim. So Rabbi Yossi ben Eliakim, he testified in the name of the holy congregation of Jerusalem. Anybody who juxtaposes Gaal Yisrael to Shmona Esrei will not get damaged. He will not get hurt the entire day. Reb Zera, is this really? Reb Zera says, is this so? He says, what do you mean? I was somech kula tefillah and I got hurt that day. So Amar lei b'may idzak, idzakta, right? It's zakt. How did you get damaged? What are you referring to the fact that you had to bring a hadas, a myrtle leaf, to the king, and you would rather have been learning? Like, is that what you're all upset about? That because you were such an important person, they kind of made you get up out of the base medrash and go to the king and bring a myrtle branch? That doesn't count as getting damaged. Hasam nami mibayilach lemeav agr lemechze ape malka. It's taka good for you to actually go and pay a little bit, whether it's in time, whether it's money for the hadas, whatever it is, to go visit the king. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, as Rabbi Yochanan said, "La'olam yishtadol adam larus likras malchei Yisrael," that a person should always, try to run to see Jewish kings. And actually, it's not only to see Jewish kings, even to see non-Jewish kings. Because if he will merit and will be around during the world to come, when there will be Jewish kings, he will remember his experience with the non-Jewish king, and by making the comparison, he will realize how friggin' awesome the Jewish kings are in comparison. Wow, very fancy. Amal Rabbi Illa le'ula. So Rabbi Illa said to Ula, Ki ailas lahasam, when you go over there, I guess, when you go from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, I believe, She'il b'shlama de Rav Brona achi, ask about my brother Rav Brona, b'ma'amad kol chabura. I think what it means is, go to like the chabura, go to where all the students, or all the yeshiva people are hanging out, and say, hey, anybody know Rav Brona? I'm looking for Rav Brona. Because he's a great man and he's very happy in doing mitzvahs. One time he juxtaposed Gaal Yisrael to Shmona Esrei, and he had a smile on his face the whole day. And Tosfos Asakash says, isn't everybody always so much gula tefillah? I mean, anybody who basically davens from the sitter and you say Berachos Hashem Gaal Yisrael and then immediately start davening Shmona Esrei, everyone's so much gula tefillah. So he says that Mistama, he says that it's probably like the Vasikin, but the Gemara doesn't necessarily say that. So I don't know, whatever. I don't know what to say. Heichi Matzi Samech. So now the Gemara asks a kasha that we actually will recognize from a few pages ago. How is it actually technically possible to be so much gula tefillah? But how is it actually possible to be so much gula tefillah? Because you're going to say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach Tilasecha before you actually start Shmona Esrei. So you're going to say Baruch Hashem Gaal Yisrael, and then before you start, you're going to say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach. So you're not actually technically being so much gula tefillah. Amar Belazar Tehei B'Tefillah Shel Iris. So Rabbi Elazar said, no, only say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach at Mariv, but in the morning where you somach gula tefillah, just go straight into it. V'amar Rabbi Yochanan Ezu ben Olam Haba Zeh somach gula shel Arvis, the tefillah shel Arvis. But didn't Rabbi Yochanan himself say, the same Rabbi Yochanan who says that you start off by saying Hashem Sfasei Tiftach v'yagid tilasecha, he's the same person who says that you should be somach gula tefillah, you're a child of the world to come if you can be somach gula tefillah at Mariv as well. Which means that he wouldn't be able. If we're saying that saying Hashem Sfasei Tiftach would in fact be a hefsek, well then he wouldn't. And you're saying do it at Mariv. Well, Rabbi Yochanan says that you're also going to be somach gula tefillah at Mariv. So Rabbi Elazar says, okay, fine, do it at Mincha, because everyone agrees that you're not going to be so much gula tefillah at Mincha. So at Mincha you say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach v'yagid tilasecha, but at Shacharis and Amar if you don't, and that way you can be so much gula tefillah without a hefsek. Fine. Rav Ashi Amar afilu tema akulu. Rav Ashi says no, you can even say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach v'yagid tilasecha by all three prayers, right? Right, but since the rabbis said, say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach v'yagid tilasecha, so it's just considered part of Shmona Esrei. So when you say Gaal Yisrael and then you say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach, so you are actually going straight into the Shmona Esrei at that point, and there's no hefsek at all. The ilote mahachi arbesechi matzah samech, because if you don't say that, since the Chacham said to say Hashem Sfasei Tiftach, it's considered part of Shmona Esrei. Well, then how are you going to be somach gula tefillah in Mariv anyways, right? V'habai l'meima ashkivenu. Doesn't he have to say, right? He's going to say Gaal Yisrael, and then he says Ashkivenu, and then he says Shmona Esrei. So Ella Since the Chacham said, say Ashkivenu, it's considered an extension of Goal Yisrael. And therefore, right, so Achinami came the Kavua Rabbanan B'Tfila K'Tfila Richta Damyu. Since the Rabbanan said, say Hashem Sfasat Tiftach, so it's considered like an extension of the prayer. So really, you're just going straight from Goal Yisrael into Shmona Esrei, even when you're saying Hashkivenu, even when you're saying Hashem Sfasat Tiftach U'Fiagiti Lasecha. Okay, let's move on. Ha Yulu Ratzon Imei Free, my mashma. Mashma Vasof, Mashma Meikara, Dibainan Lemeimar. Right? This pasuk of Yulu Ratzon Imei Free may be as an appeasement what I said and everything that I thought. God is my rock and my salvation, right? That could really work at the beginning of the prayer, right? Maybe Yulu Ratzon, what I'm going to say. It also makes sense at the end that I hope that what I just said was as an appeasement, right? So my time to tiknu rabban la'achar yudches brachos, right? Lemu meikar. How come we say this at the end of Elokai Netzor, right? Right at the end, we say, right before we take 3 steps back, we say Yulu Ratzon Imei V'Agyon B'Lefnecha Hashem Tzuri V'Gvali. So how come they said say it at the end as opposed to at the beginning? Amar B'Yehuda Breder Reb Shimon ben Pazi. So says Rabbi Yehuda Breder Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Hol v'lo amro David el la'achar yudches parashos, because David HaMelech in Tehillim only said it after 18 paragraphs of Tehillim. Lefichach takinu rabbanan la'achar yudches brachos. Therefore, the Rabbanan said, okay, well, we'll say if David HaMelech said it after 18 chapters of Tehillim, it makes sense that we'll say it after 18 brachos of Shmona Esrei. Hani Yudches Yutes Avyon. The Gemara says, 1 second, David HaMelech said it after 18 chapters of Tehillim. He said it after 19 chapters of Tehillim. It's the last pasuk of the 19th chapter. So Asher Ish V'Lam Rog Shugayim Chada Parsha Hi. So he said, no, the first 2 chapters of Tehillim, the first one of Ashrei Ish and the second one of Lama Rog Shugayim, they are actually one. And therefore, even though in our books it's at the end of the 19th, the first 2 are really one, so it's actually the end of the 18th. Fine. Damar B'Yehuda Breder Shimon ben Pazi. Kuf Gimel Parshos Amar David Lo Amar Hallelujah Achira B'Mapalasan Shal Rishayim. That David HaMelech said 103 chapters of Tehillim before he said the word Hallelujah. He waited, he reserved to say the word Hallelujah until he saw the downfall of Rishaim. Shneimar Yitamu Chatayim Min Haaretz U'Rishaim Od Einam Barchi Nafshi Es Hashem Hallelujah. Right? It says that Chataim, right, that sins should go away, and Memela, automatically, if sins go away, there won't be any more evil people, right? Barchi nafshi et Hashem, let my soul praise God, hallelujah. Hani kuv gimel, kuv dalad avyon. What do you mean it's at the end of 103? It's actually at the end of, if you look in Tehillim, this pasuk is actually at the end of the 104th chapter, Havyon, right? So Ela, Shmamina, Ashra Ish, V'lam Rog Shugayim, Chada Parsha Hi. Rather, no, those first 2 chapters are actually one. How come specifically the first 2 chapters are one? I'll explain to you. The Amar Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Kol Parsha Shayisa Chaviva al David, Pasach Baba Ashrei, V'siyim Baba Ashrei. That Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani says in the name of Rabbi Yochanan that any parsha that was beloved upon David HaMelech, he started it with the word Ashrei and he ended it with the word Ashrei. And if you actually look at these 2 chapters of Tehillim, right? V'siyim Baba Ashrei, fine. Pasach ba'ashrei, and he started the first chapter with Ashrei, Tichsiv Ashrei Ya'ish, that's the first words of Ashrei Ish, V'siyim ba'ashrei, Tichsiv Ashrei Kochosebo, and the end of that second paragraph is Ashrei Kochosebo, so we see that the first 2 paragraphs are actually one. Shkaich to everybody. Wow, I just ran through that. I apologize for running through it. There was just so much information. I wanted to keep it at under an hour because, I don't want to hold you guys too long. Anyways, Shkaich, if you have any questions, let me know, of course. And I'll just run through quickly what the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer is. So basically what you could do is at the Seder, you can keep your eye on the clock, and when it gets close to Chatzos, right, and you have to eat the Afikomen before Chatzos, what you do is you say, I'm going to make a condition. If it's like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah that can only eat the Afikomen until Chatzos, so then I'm eating the Afikomen right now. You eat the Afikomen, and then you eat a kazayas of the Afikomen, and then you wait. You don't eat anything because there's Eimaftir Nachar Pesach Afikomen. You can't eat anything after the Afikomen, right? So then you wait until Chatzos. Once Chatzos is over, it's already no longer the time for the Korban Pesach anymore. It's over, so you can go back to eating, because Zeh. And then whenever you get up to your Afikomen later, before Alos HaShachar, you eat your Afikomen, and then that's that. Anyways, peace everyone. Enjoy.